Welcome back to another little lesson I have here. I was supposed to do this as a follow-up to the other video I have regarding the chakras in the four chambers, coming into knowing the different types of love that kind of give you an idea of how expansive that type of energy can go and what you can learn within each area, and becoming more grounded within yourself, your own self-love, the love you have for others, and things within this world, and beyond it. So knowing how these energies function can really open our eyes to seeing so many different facets to them, the power within it. Love is one of the main energies that we were created by. They say God is love. There was an energy there placed with an intention to create all things, with a pure level of consciousness, a pure level of intent, a pure level of curiosity to be able to wonder upon a creation, see its limitations, its abilities, instill within it capabilities, teach it things, so it's a fostering type of energy that is really observative, and through observation we gain consciousness, right? So that's how that energy tends to focus upon everybody and everything within this life, within life beyond what we know here, So, power of the four chambers. This is what I'm going to go over. And, I was talking about, different types of love that, we tap into. I think some people tend to get a little confused about love and what its meaning is, and the unconditional part of it, what creates it in an unconditional way, because I think a lot of times we look at our lives and the ways we show ourselves love, and sometimes people tend to place like a total misjudgment upon the energy of love. Sometimes I see people talk about like how love is a very hurtful thing to get involved in. That's why people are so afraid to open their heart to love, because they're afraid of getting hurt by somebody, giving too much of themselves, and the person betrays them. And so they say love hurts. That's not the truth. That's not the truth of it, because love is its own energy, and the thing is that what hurts us, is something that we have to really delve into and look into ourselves, reasons why we are hurt. Sometimes we're hurt because we have so many conditions, so many, ideals of what we expect from people, when sometimes we don't even expect it from ourselves, or we don't even place, a boundary or let it be known to people that, this is how I feel more loved, or this is how I feel I deserve, to be respected or treated when it comes to a loving relationship. And sometimes those types of terms and conditions are just what they are. It's conditioned love. but like through the eyes, say, for example, a parent. You're a parent, you bring your child into this world, you raise them to be the best, you know, you can, instill, values and everything the best way you can. And at some point you have to let them go experience life on their own. And so like by doing this, you're kind of aware of like the whole road that they're gonna end up having to take. As parents, we kind of stress about that. And it's like you're kind of afraid for your children because certain types of pathways, they don't always lead to the best outcomes, but that's a part of life. Trusting that your child was taught enough to know enough how to treat themselves, to treat others, to not get involved in things that are going to lead to a damaging life path upon themselves and others. So sometimes we just have to trust in that. And sometimes along the way, our kids, loved ones, they get led astray or head down a wrong path because it's just a lesson that they need to learn. And through those lessons, we learn to accept them and the lesson they had to learn, and understand that, they have their own life path as well. So through that, all we can do is try to coach and remain in a loving consciousness unconditionally. We'll love them anyway. We may not condone what they did, but we love them, for their existence, their very existence, because it has a purpose. It has a meaning. They were created with intention. As a parent, you had an intention for your child, why you created them. So you got to think of that, the loving consciousness of God, why we were all created. And to be honest, that's what it is. We're created to be loved. We're created to be, these beings with so many different avenues of learning and growing, and just making our way throughout all these adversities and different paths that lead to so much self-discovery and discovery of things within this world that we never really knew existed. So it's learning different things constantly. So within that, the God love, the understanding that type of love and where it comes from is important, because then you start learning about yourself and your energy that you carry. God, the energy of God comes from fire. It's just something that, when you look at fire, it's very passionate. It's very it's like a force of its own that just can burn anything within its path. It's an eternal flame that a lot of ascended masters and people within spirituality have come to learn. It's an eternal being, eternal, and that light, the light is of its own source. So, the energy of fire is what we draw from, the holy divine fire. And that's just kind of like the whole entire personality of God, in every way. God is a divine masculine and the divine feminine, energy created by it. And so, that driving force is untouchable in a way when you really have it instilled within you. You try to touch fire, you burn yourself, it's hot. So the only way you can come close to that is by being fire within yourself, taking it in within yourself to practice I would say, like, an art of knowing the essence of God and purity, and it's not to be a person who is very condemning, or um, there's some discussions I got into with people about purity of things, and I think throughout history, it was taught that, to be pure, you have to condemn other people for all their sins and this and that and whatever they do. But, from what I understand, is that a lot of those conditions, those types of love, they were conditioned for man to follow, for man to determine judgment upon other people. That is what is known as like a more of like a dictatorship within religion. Everybody is religious, and I just want to point this out first and foremost, that religion, all it means is to reconnect. Okay, so by reconnecting, we're reconnecting to a divine source, and if we truly know the divine source, we'll understand things and see things more clearer from that perspective. So this is why I'm trying to show you this. Throughout history, the word religion itself had really become plagued with such a negative connotation because of how people use that faith, that way of life, to control other people, by using, this love, trying to control people with their love, and create all these conditions and terms and ways of being. When you think within a true God nature and consciousness, it's impossible to contain all that like that. It is, because, God is forever infinite. There's so many infinite ways to learning acceptance, to learning how to function with people around us in a complete harmony, and know that every place has its time, its purpose, its deeds, its course. It's just always interchanging all the time. So it's like we can't always hold people to certain conditions and terms, and ways that the way how religion was created to be. But when you get down to the purity of what religion really is, it just means to reconnect to your higher self, your higher consciousness. And so through like different types of faiths, people learn how to reconnect to, the God essence, So it's throughout all cultures, everything, it's all the same thing, a reconnecting. We reconnect through our culture. That's what it is. The religion varies through culture. Our culture teaches these things. I'm Native. So, as an indigenous person, I have my way of reconnecting, through what I know, through my tradition, my history, where I come from. And I know where I come from. So this is why, like, this energy, this whole entire, these messages, they just flow. They flow because, this is something that my people have always, lived by, as a Hopi. So it's like, it's not really hard for me to understand things or see things throughout various perspectives, of why things happen the way they do. So it's like, tapping into the higher consciousness. Through higher consciousness, it becomes very complex because you start seeing everything, behind a situation, why it had to occur, why, goes way back. It can go way back to even lifetimes of why you're living the way you are now, or why, you're finally learning about this now, so it's it's just all kind of like a reteaching to what it really means to carry, the divine unconditional love in yourself. to unlock these chambers and open avenues and ways for manifesting goodness within your life. Because sometimes when certain parts of these chambers are locked, you're not loving, you're not learning the loving practices within these certain areas or applying it to your life, sometimes it can block certain things, as I discussed in the other video. So you might want to check the other one out on the 4 chambers. I believe that's what it's called, I think. But this is about the power of it. Okay, so yeah, like I said, the divine God energy deals with fire. Fire is fire energy. I think of fire, I think of red, I think of passion, I think of drive, I think of motion, I think of action. So that's what this is, action, fire, blazing a trail, burning everything down in your path. Fire is also healing, through like what I know through medical and a lot of things throughout my own healing on the physical level, a lot of things that take place, healing the body physically requires heat. That's the only way we know we're alive as well, as, the heat. We contain all these elements within ourselves, our body. We're made of these elements. So, we contain all these elements within love as well. Because these elements, they signify certain aspects of love. So this has to do with the action, God taking the action, divine unconditional love, to love unconditionally, regardless of what you're going through, The second chamber has to deal with self. So, they say like, you can't really fully love somebody unless you know how to love yourself first. Through self, you learn that you are important with or without another being. You have abilities within you to be independent, to create things within your own power, within your own imagination, within your own will. You carry the power of will to make a change on your attitude, the way how you see things, the way how you listen, the way how you speak. You're applying consciousness of self. So through self, you learn how to communicate with who you are. So you're going deep within your mind. You're going internal into yourself, reflecting on your decisions, your emotions, how you react to things. And you're tapping into the subconscious. We have a consciousness at a surface level. Below that, though, there are things that are tapped into this God energy. And to awaken a consciousness of ourselves is to communicate with that inner being, the higher consciousness of God. So our, consciousness here within this 3D dimension, seeing the basic, senses, seeing, touch, taste, learning about ourselves, the image, the physicality of everything. We go in a little bit deeper, we see the subconscious, which is the spirituality of it, our spiritual connection to a higher self. So that whole entire energy of applying love to yourself is through being aware, by first knowing and understanding that you exist. You are breathing. You are a life force capable of creating so much with all your energy, these elements. So by paying attention to yourself, that is showing yourself love. By going within, by taking note of certain things that you need to change or you need to work on to become more of a person who shows that they are aware. It's kind of like practicing what you preach, or practicing what you actually learn and applying it through wisdom, of yourself, knowing yourself fully. So, air, this is the energy of self because it's communication. Air, you notice, like, say, like, for example, electromagnetic sound waves, they travel upon air. So this is like the spirituality connection into yourself through the electrical wave currents within your body, connecting you to spirit, connecting you to sensing things through intuition of yourself, of everything else around you, in order to really go in deep and make a very a good analysis of how you've come to grow, and be this being. And just realizing and taking acceptance within yourself and responsibility for who you are, and applying that love to yourself in ways that are very healthy for you. We show our self-love by having balance in our life. Like, say we go through too much in life, too much work, we feel like we're missing parts of ourselves out there. We're not socializing enough, we're not connecting with family enough, we're not taking time off from work to rest. We're lacking in our overall health and what we're eating because we're constantly going. We never sit down to eat a healthy meal with family. We're not resting enough. Those things can throw our energy off balance and even create health risks. So especially within the heart, because, like, from what I know is, when you don't give enough attention to yourself and love yourself enough, you start having heart problems. You start having breathing difficulties. You start having anxiety. You start having palpitations, So that's another thing. You're not paying attention to self. You're going to start, developing certain things within these areas. That can be a whole other, video on its own, pertaining to, like, certain physical deficiencies and things that happen, when we don't apply love to ourselves in certain areas, of the chakras. So I can get into those things later on, but, like, that's just an example. So, like, air, that the quality of the air we breathe, in our inner being, taking time out, taking rest, taking introspection, meditation, that's showing your self-love. So, and it's very, it's very important to always try to administer as much care to ourselves as possible. So, through paying attention to ourselves, there's nothing selfish about it. Everybody has to have, a time for everything. That's why managing our daily lives, making sure we get a little bit of something good within it every single day, is very vital to longevity of love and prosperity within your life. See, so if, like, you're not giving yourself enough time to breathe, something's gonna not really work out within your life, because a certain part of your chakra is too closed. So you got to open that up and make way for good things to come into your life. You're well rested, you're going to get more better opportunities that have, like, say, like, you're slaving away at a job that you really do not care for. It's not what you want to do, not a place where you want to be. People, are very rude and mean at the workplace. And it's like, so it's kind of like you're slaving away at that, creating more strain upon yourself, overworking yourself when you could be trying to let that go from your day, resting, not stressing too much. You get that rest, you start feeling good about yourself. You start cutting yourself off from the energy at work that's bringing you down. Suddenly, next thing you know, like you're feeling good, still doing what you're doing. Next thing you know, another job comes into place. And it's like, okay, you're at a higher vibration, so let's put you in at a more higher vibrational job. You got the energy now. You're sleeping well. You got energy to take on this job that you probably will like more than this one. So that's kind of like showing you the way of how manifestation takes place when we're paying attention to these certain areas within our life, because certain things can sometimes block us off from opportunities. They can block us off from situations. They can block us off from certain life paths that probably should be taking place right now. We probably should be living a lot better than we are right now, but we're still stuck in holding on to things that really don't serve us anymore. So it's not allowing us to be who we really are in our whole entire being. When we're well rested, we feel better. We feel more energetic. We feel our best selves. So, it's just kind of a little example I have there. The third chamber has to do with lover, loving another person. So that's another kind of love. I colored it blue because, it's a symbol of water. Loving another person, because water is like the energy of emotion. So learning this type of love is learning how to practice how to relate to a person through their emotions and how they relate to you. How you guys express those emotions in a very healthy way, or if you kind of see how when things don't work out, or if there's arguments, emotions get so heated and things happen on impulse. Those situations kind of show you like certain things you have to work on within your emotions, because emotions are a big part of manifestation. Major part. Emotions are the part that really drive us to move in this fire type of energy. They drive us to make decisions, whether hasty or patiently. They're very temporary. Emotions do not last long unless we allow it to. So these things you can shut on or off. And through being with a person who is very close, that we're intimate with, we learn how to navigate within these emotions, because see that connection to a lover is so close. You know everything about each other. You know each other's truths. You know each other's faults. You know how each other reacts to certain things in life. So you're able to truly learn with another person. You can't learn this stuff on your own. You can't learn how to be a lover on your own. You have to have a lover there. So everybody needs to have this type of experience to become well-rounded in what is required to create harmony and peace among other people, especially within the relationship. Sometimes some relationships don't work out because certain individuals, they resonate on a different vibrational frequency, and some people, they can't learn enough to get up on that level. So it's kind of like things are out of balance. And so sometimes those relationships, if they cannot come to a common ground of understanding each other's emotions and what they mean and why they react a certain way, and why it can't be resolved, whatever problems or issues are going on within the relationship, then that relationship will not, continue. Usually it's just kind of like a teaching of, how different vibrations cannot really always function together, for long term, because you're growing, or they're becoming stagnant and, not moving forward, so it's something that they probably have to work on within one of these areas. That's why that relationship isn't prospering, it's not healthy, it's not happy, it's not fulfilling, so that's one of the reasons why sometimes, when we come in contact with people that, are a boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, husband, whatnot, they teach us a lot of things about ourselves on an emotional level. And so, like the emotions, we know which emotions feel good, which emotions do not feel so great. And we can, understand that by choosing our emotions wisely, we can create better outcomes. And sometimes if we still try to choose those emotions and that lover or whoever we're with, they're not being receptive of it or trying to meet you halfway or put an effort into the relationship to raise their vibration as well, then that's just showing you that perhaps that person is not someone you're going to actually learn as much from, because after a while that type of cycle just kind of gets played out, and then you're like, okay, there's got to be more to life than just feeling miserable, with a person who wants to be miserable and don't want to try to change or grow or, work on the relationship. So sometimes this can teach you a lot, how to compromise, how to know when to discern yourself from certain energy, especially on a intimate level. So this is the real personal one, when you're getting to be in contact with a specific type of person, personality or whatnot. Teaches you a lot about yourself. So like I said, water energy. Water is kind of like the female energy, like I was talking about in the video over yin and yang. Water is emotions, same thing. Fire is the masculine energy, the action, take action to do certain things. Sometimes man or woman can have either energy, and if you're not fully balanced, if you have way too, say like if you're a woman who has way too much fire energy, it's going to be hard to, communicate with your lover. If he's a really masculine type of man, it's going to be like two men butting heads, so it's kind of like you got to calm yourself down and start, tapping into your more feminine, softer energy, so that's just kind of like an example. The fourth chamber has to deal with the universe, and so like through universe, like earth is a part of universe, so it's got that earthy energy, of course. Things in physicality, things that we see every day, our environment. So yeah, it has to do with the environment. And by universe, it can be all things existing within it. Everything's got energy. We got the animals. We got, other beings that came before us. People from all walks of life. There's places even, places that carry so much energy, and how we feel when we're there. Like going to Hawaii, you feel really relaxed there, you love that place, versus going to like an area where, say, there was like a bombing, or something that happened, war happened, broke out in the town, and it's just, you just feel the energy of sadness. It's like when I went to Washington, Arlington Cemetery. That feeling there was just very somber. quiet, somber. It wasn't a place where I felt like I wanted to remain in for very long, because it's just too much of this energy that's so gray, and it kind of makes you think about this world, this war that happened. So many lives were lost. You start thinking about life and what it means, what sacrifice means, and questioning things like, why does this all happen? So thinking of those things, it made me question how I feel about life in general, how I feel about this world we're living in. Sometimes this world has so much negative energy, to a point to where you feel like you don't even want to be here. You don't feel like you belong in it. That sense of belonging is because we want to be connected back to this this main source of energy, that pure state. When we're born, we leave that pure state and enter this world where there's so many different types of energies, both positive and negative, because Earth is north and south pole, two different types of energies, positive and negative. So anything can be created here.